Well, good evening. It is not easy to speak about the same topic after so many people who have said almost everything. Therefore, I have prepared a very scholarly paper, which I will try not to deliver in the form I have written, but more to share some of my own remarks and experience. 2016 was indeed a great year for the Orthodox Church and a great year for our bilateral relations between the Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church, because of the two historical events about which we are now talking since 2 days, the Holy and Great Council of Crete and the Chieti meeting of the Joint Commission for Theological Dialogue between our churches. For me personally, 2016 was an exciting year. As Father Robertson just said in his introduction, recalling the major moments of my biography, well, first of all, I would say that I got into ecumenism by accident. I was not preparing myself to be an ecumenical minister or an ecumenical representative. My studies were always in the field of liturgy, and when I have defended my doctoral thesis in 2003 at the Catholic University of Paris, I was asked to teach at the Liturgical Institute and at the Institute of Liturgical Studies, of Ecumenical Studies of the Institut Catholique de Paris, in the field of comparative liturgy and liturgy from an ecumenical perspective. And this is how slowly I got into ecumenism. And a year after, in 2004, I was asked to be a member and to participate in the founding of the new working group, Catholic Orthodox Working Group of St. Irenaeus, and I am participating in these events since then. Continuing to teach at the Catholic University and at the Orthodox Center of Chambézy since 2009. And this is how I got to know the preparation of the Holy and Great Council, because the professors involved at the Orthodox Center of the Ecumenical Patriarchate in Chambézy were used as advisors for the preparatory meetings. So since 2010 I have attended a series of preparatory meetings of the Holy and Great Council, about which I will be speaking in a few minutes. Then, continuing to do this, I became Archbishop with the pastoral task to look after Orthodox parishes in Western Europe of Russian tradition of the Ecumenical Patriarchate. And then I thought to myself that this will be the end of my life, because all my predecessors died on their see after 10 years of pastoral work. So I was getting ready, in a way, to be buried in Sainte-Geneviève-des-Bois as all my predecessors. But then suddenly I received a very strange fax on the 28th of November 2015 that I was appointed as permanent representative of the Ecumenical Patriarchate to the World Council of Churches. This is to say, in some other words, as some people have said, I was appointed Minister for Ecumenical Affairs of the Ecumenical Patriarchate and with permanent residence in Geneva. So, since I moved to Geneva, this is not the end of the news, because in January 2016 I received another fax informing me that I was appointed a member of the delegation of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, together with His Eminence Archbishop Dimitrios of America, to be a part of the delegation accompanying His All Holiness, the Ecumenical Patriarch, to the synaxis of primates, which took place in January 2016 in Geneva, in the Orthodox Center of Chambézy. So I was not only a witness or somebody present in the synaxis was I actually took part in the synaxis of 2016, which took the decision, a unanimous decision, to convey the Holy and Great Council. So as you see, I was involved in the preparation. I participated in some preparatory meetings of the Holy and Great Council, but then I was also present and participated in a meeting which actually decided to convey the Holy and Great Council. And this is not the end. A few months later, I received another letter from the Patriarchate appointing me to the Joint International Commission of Theological Dialogue, because His Eminence Metropolitan John of Pergamon had resigned due for health reasons. So this is how I happened to be in Chieti and took over. I took the place of Metropolitan John as a member of the delegation of the Ecumenical Patriarchate and as co-chair of that commission. And later on, a few months later, I received another letter from the Patriarchate appointing me to the delegation of the Ecumenical Patriarchate to the Holy and Great Council, which was conveyed in Crete, and also to be as one of the member of the delegation, to be the one to participate in the Pan-Orthodox Secretariat of the Council. So for me personally, 2016 was a very exciting year. And I will try to share with you tonight some of my experience during that year. Metropolitan Callistos has presented a little bit the history of the preparation of the Holy and Great Council, but he focused mainly on the event itself. He spoke about the Holy and Great Council, which took place as an event in June 2016. I would like to focus a little bit more on the Holy and Great Council, not only as an event which took place in 2016, but as a process. I think this is very important to look at the event, not only at the historical event itself, but in order to appreciate it and understand it better, we should look at the process. There was a long process of preparation, and of course now we are in the process of its reception. And I think an event like this conference is actually a part of the process of reception of the Council. As Metropolitan Callistos has said in his presentation, we can look back to the year 1902 with the encyclical of Ecumenical Patriarch Joachim III, which initiated that process. And here I would like to quote a part of the encyclical, of the letter actually. It was a patriarchal letter addressed to the primates of the Orthodox Church, saying, well, brothers, there are several issues that we should discuss. And what do you think? Is it the time to get together to discuss these things? Of course, there were many issues, but one of the issues was actually the rapprochement and the dialogue, or our relations with other Christians. And this is very important to underline, because you see, ecumenical matters did not appear by accident at the Holy and Great Council of Crete, and also the theological dialogue which is being promoted and undertaken by the Joint International Commission did not appear by accident. All this goes back to the letter of Joachim III in 1902. I will quote you a short paragraph. The Patriarch said to his brothers, the other primates of the local autocephalous Orthodox churches, he said, "It is moreover pleasing to God and in accordance with the gospel to seek the mind of the most holy autocephalous churches on the subject of our present and future relations with the two great growths of Christianity, that is, the Western Church and the Church of the Protestants. Of course, the union of them and of all who believe in Christ with us in the Orthodox faith is the pious and heartfelt desire of our Church and of all genuine Christians who stand firm in the evangelical doctrine of unity. And it is the subject of constant prayer and supplication. But at the same time, we are not unaware that this pious desire comes up against the unbroken persistence of these churches in doctrines on which, having taken their stand as on a base hardened by the passage of time, they seem quite disinclined to join a road to union, such as pointed out by evangelical and historical truth, nor do they evince any readiness to do so except on terms and basis on which the desired dogmatic unity and fellowship is unacceptable to us. We must replace this quote in the context. I mean, it was 1902. The context was very different from our day context. I mean, for centuries, the churches didn't really speak to each other, and the Orthodox Church had very bad experiences in the previous centuries of proselytism, Protestant proselytism, uniatism. There was Vatican I. There was the creation in the 19th century of parallel jurisdictions in the Holy Land, in the Middle East, and so on. So they were quite bad memories. But nevertheless, the Patriarch said to his brothers, let us discuss, let us come together and discuss our actual and our future relations with our brothers, the other Christians, which he recognized as churches, and let us discuss in order to seek unity. So that was the starting point. So ecumenical relations, or the unity of divided Christians, appeared from the very, very beginning of the process of the preparation of the Holy and Great Council. Another major step, which was not directly linked with the preparation of the Holy and Great Council, but which definitely influenced the documents of the Holy and Great Council and influenced the institution or the initiation of bilateral dialogues, was another major document of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, which is the encyclical of the Ecumenical Patriarchate of 1920, which is addressed unto the churches of Christ everywhere. In other words, to all Christian churches. And in this letter, the Ecumenical Patriarchate states that the Orthodox Church, I quote, holds that rapprochement, prosegesis, between the various Christian churches and fellowship, koinonia, between them is not excluded by doctrinal differences which exist between them, and was calling for, I quote again, the necessity for establishing a contact and league, fellowship, koinonia, between the churches, by analogy of the League of Nations that had been created in 1999. Many people see in this encyclical of 1920 a prophetic voice calling for the creation of the World Council of Churches. So keep in mind that these two letters, the letter of Joachim III in 1902 and the letter of 1920, there was at that time no World Council of Churches. There was almost no ecumenical movement as we know it today. The Roman Catholic Church didn't have yet its council, the Second Vatican Council, where it opened its door for ecumenical relationship. So these were quite prophetic voices. And then a third very major step was in the 1960s. The ecumenical, as Metropolitan Callistos has pointed out and underlined, in the 1960s, the ecumenical patriarch Athenagoras called the Orthodox to gather on the island of Rhodes, and there were 3 gatherings on the island of Rhodes in order to prepare to launch the preparation of the Holy and Great Council. But at the same time, these pan-Orthodox conferences on the island of Rhodes also initiated bilateral dialogues. It said, that the Orthodox Church should engage into dialogue with the Roman Catholic Church, with the Old Catholic Church, with the churches of the Reformation, that is the Lutheran, the Calvinists, the Anglican, the Episcopalian, and finally, as a result of these meetings, the Fourth Pan-Orthodox Conference gathered in Chambézy, the newly created Orthodox Center of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, in 1968, for the Fourth Pan-Orthodox Conference, which instituted a secretariat for the preparation of the Holy and Great Council based at the Orthodox Center of Chambézy, as well as the instances of inter-Orthodox preparatory commissions and pan-Orthodox preconciliar conferences to prepare the preconciliar texts, and which selected a list of topics to be examined at the Holy and Great Council. So, from a wide list of topics which has been proposed by the first by the first conferences, the first Pan-Orthodox Preconciliar Conference of Chambézy in 1976 restricted the list to 10 topics that should be on the agenda of the Holy and Great Council. As I mentioned yesterday, we have to keep in mind this process of preparation. All the Orthodox churches were sending delegates, bishops, clergy, or lay persons, to the preparatory commissions that were preparing texts. These texts were then sent back to the churches for discussion, to the synods. The synods were sending their remarks and reactions to the secretariat based in Chambézy, and then the secretariat based on Chambézy, taking into account the reactions, was preparing updated or a revised version of the text, which was then discussed once again by delegates of all the churches at the preconciliar conferences. And these texts were adopted by the preconciliar conferences in order to be submitted once again to the council. So this was a back and forth process which was initiated since 1968 and in a more systematic way since the first preconciliar conference in 1976. Among the 10 topics that were chosen in 1976, or which were selected from a longer list, 2 topics were related to ecumenical relations or bilateral dialogues. One topic was the relations of the Orthodox Church with other churches and Christian confessions. You have to understand that the Pan-Orthodox conferences in Rhodes said, yes, we give the green light in order to engage into dialogue with other Christian churches. But in the pan-Orthodox conferences in Rhodes, although they were a very high pan-Orthodox authority, the pan-Orthodox conferences of Rhodes did not have the status of a council. And in the Orthodox Church, until the Council of Crete, there was no conciliar decision about engaging into dialogue with other Christian churches. So many people could say, well, this is maybe a good initiative, but we don't agree because it's not decided by the Council of the Church. There's no conciliar authority, there's no conciliar ratification of that. So this is why the decision to engage into dialogue at of the Rhodes conferences had to be addressed at the Holy and Great Council. And also the second topic was the relations of the Orthodox Church to the ecumenical movement. Of course, the ecumenical patriarchate called all the churches together and to form what it became in 1948 the World Council of Churches. And of course, by the 1970s, all the Orthodox churches became members of the World Council of Churches. But there was no conciliar decision about the participation of the Orthodox Church into the ecumenical movement. Just to show a parallel, the Roman Catholic Church until Vatican II didn't participate in the ecumenical movement and didn't became a member of the World Council of Churches. So it's only after the Vatican II Council in the 1960s that the Roman Catholic Church opened itself to the ecumenical movement and started engaging into dialogue. So this is what we have to keep in mind. So we can say that the Orthodox Church started to participate in the ecumenical movement and engage into dialogue before a considered decision was made, but it engaged in the process of the preparation of the council. And this is clearly seen that during this intense phase of preparation of the council in the starting from the 1970s, at the same time the Orthodox Church started engaging into very systematized dialogue with other churches. Since the conferences of Rhodes, the Orthodox Church as a whole, with representation from all the autocephalous churches, has engaged into 6 bilateral dialogues with other Christian churches. The first one was the Orthodox Anglican dialogue, which began in 1973 in Oxford. The second one was the Orthodox Old Catholic dialogue, which began in 1975. The third one was the Orthodox Roman Catholic dialogue, which began in 1980. The fourth one was the Orthodox Lutheran dialogue, which began in 1981. The fifth one was the Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, that is the dialogue between the Orthodox Chalcedonian churches with the Orthodox non-Chalcedonian churches, which began in Geneva in 1985. And finally, the sixth one is the Orthodox Reform dialogue, which began in 1988 in Switzerland. So you see, at the same time, we are in the process of preparation of the Holy and Great Council. At the same time, we engage into bilateral dialogues. After a period of stagnation in the process of preparation of the Holy and Great Council, due with the fall of the Soviet Union as I explained earlier today. Some churches were more concerned by what was happening in their own country than what was happening on international level. The process of preparation of the Holy and Great Council was intensified thanks to the meetings of the primates, of the heads of the autocephalous Orthodox churches, which were convened under the initiative of the Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew in 1992, 1995, 2000. And finally, a synaxis of primates gathered in Constantinople at the See of the Ecumenical Patriarchate in 2014, which decided that time has come to seriously think of the convocation of the council, and therefore some of the texts that have been prepared in the 70s and in the 80s should be revised. So it was decided that during the year 2015 and 2014 and 2015, there should be a special commission that would meet in Chambézy in order to revise the texts. And among the texts that needed some revisions was the two texts dealing with the relations with the ecumenical movement and the relations with the other churches. Why? Well, because since the redaction of these texts in 1986, the ecumenical movement had known some difficulties. For example, in 1996 and 1998, two Orthodox churches, the Orthodox Church of Georgia and the Orthodox Church of Bulgaria, decided to get out of the World Council of Churches. So what can we say together about the World Council of Churches and the ecumenical movement? Also, since 1986, some among the 6 dialogues that bilateral dialogues into which the Orthodox Church had engaged, some went through big difficulties. The dialogue of the Orthodox Church with the Old Catholic Church was a very successful dialogue. The dialogue was almost finished, or even some of the members of that dialogue would say that it was finished. It came to the conclusion that unification could be made. And then suddenly the Old Catholic Church started ordaining women to the priesthood, and there was also ethical issues linked with the question of homosexuality and same-sex marriages and so on, which made the reunification impossible. The same applies for the dialogue with the Anglicans. The same applies with the dialogue with the Reformed and the Lutheran, which have difficulties. So the dialogue for example, the dialogue with the Anglicans, if the aim at the beginning was unity, well, now the dialogue continues just as a dialogue of charity and doing things together, but the question of unity has been dropped off because of these changes in the churches. So the ecumenical movement went into difficulty, and also some of the dialogues went into the difficulty, so we had to review the texts of 1986. The Commission revised them, and finally the Synaxis of Primates of the Orthodox Church, which met in 2016, which I have participated as a delegate, and which took the unanimous decision to convey the Holy and Great Council of the Orthodox Church in June 2016. adopted the revised two texts which were united. You know, the two texts which were initially written in 1986 about the relations of the Orthodox Church with the ecumenical movement, and the other texts with the relations of the Orthodox Church with the other churches, became one united text entitled The Relations of the Orthodox Church with the Rest of the Christian World. Therefore, from 10 topics that have been retained in 1976, we had 9. And the synaxis also decided to exclude the question of autocephaly, to exclude the question of the calendar. As I said yesterday, many churches said that our faithful, our laity are not ready for calendar reform. So which these topics being eliminated, we came to 6 topics to be discussed at the Holy and Great Council. So I will focus now on other presentations. Have spoken about other documents that have been discussed at the Council. I personally want to focus on this document of the relations of the Orthodox Church with the rest of the Christian world, because it's mostly this document that is important for us with regards to our dialogue and our work, bilateral dialogue with the Roman Catholic Church. This document has definitely been the most controversial one. In order to understand it correctly, it is important to keep in mind that what states paragraph 1 of that document. The document identifies the Orthodox Church as the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. It states the Orthodox Church as the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, in her profound ecclesiastical self-conscience, believes unflinchingly that she occupies a central place in matter of the promotion of Christian unity in the world today. I mean, it's a similar position as, of course, this could be discussed, but I see a parallel with what Vatican II says with about the Roman Catholic Church. Vatican II says that, you know, the Church subsists in the Roman Catholic Church. So this is the starting point, and then there are the other Christians, and what did we do with them? So the Holy and Great Council says that, you know, the Orthodox Church is the one holy apostolic church, Catholic Apostolic Church, but then it says, it opens its eyes and says, well, there are other Christians around us, there are other churches around us. What shall we do? So, what shall we do? The document reminds that, I quote again, now it's paragraph 3, that the responsibility of the Orthodox Church for unity, as well as her ecumenical mission, were articulated by the Ecumenical Council. These stressed most especially the indissoluble bond between true faith and sacramental communion. And later, in paragraph 4, the document says, since it prays unceasingly for the union of all, She has always cultivated dialogue with those estranged from her, both far and near. In other words, if you consider yourself to be the church, well, then you should consider your role seriously, and you should care about church unity and about unity of Christians. And the document reminds in paragraph 24 that all Christians may work together so that the day may soon come when the Lord will fulfill the hope of the Orthodox churches, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. In paragraph 4, the document reminds that the Orthodox Church has played a leading role, I'm quoting again the document, in the contemporary search for ways and means to restore the unity of those who believed in Christ, and she has participated in the ecumenical movement from its outset and has contributed to its formation and further development. So this is, of course, indirect reference to the encyclical of 1920, which led to the creation of the World Council of Churches in 1948. The conciliar document states that the Orthodox Church, I quote again paragraph 4, has always advocated for the restoration of Christian unity. Therefore, Orthodoxy's participation in the movement to restore unity between Christians does not contradict the nature and history of the Orthodox Church, but rather represents a consistent expression of the apostolic faith and tradition in a new historical context. While rejecting every act of proselytism, uniatism, and other provocative act of interconfessional competition, the document states in paragraph 23 that the Orthodox Church deems it important for all Christians, inspired by common fundamental principles of the gospel, to attempt to offer with eagerness and solidarity a response to the thorny problems of the contemporary world based on the prototype of the new man in Christ. A large part of the document deals with the World Council of Churches. This is paragraph 16 to 19 plus paragraph 21. It reminds also the participation of the Orthodox Church in regional ecumenical bodies such as the Conference of European Churches and the Middle East Council of Churches. This is in paragraph 16, and underlines that these ecumenical institutions, I quote, fulfill an important mission by promoting the unity of the Christian world. And it also mentions the work of the World Council of Churches Commission on Faith and Order, founded in 1927, stating that it follows its theological contribution with particular interest to this day, while underlining that the Commission's theological documents, I quote, were developed with significant participation of Orthodox theologians and represent a praiseworthy step in the ecumenical movement for the rapprochement of the churches. This is paragraph 21. The conciliar document stresses that there is the necessity for all of the Orthodox autocephalous churches to be present and participate in the pan-Orthodox bilateral dialogues which are conducted under the leadership of the Ecumenical Patriarchate with all the Christian churches and confessions. The document states in paragraph 10, in the event that a certain local church chooses not to assign a representative to a particular dialogue or one of its sessions, if this decision is not pan-Orthodox, the dialogue will continue. prior to start of a dialogue or a session in the absence of the local church ought to be discussed at all events by the Orthodox Committee of the dialogue to express the solidarity and unity of the Orthodox Church. This is paragraph 9. At the same time, the document stresses that the problems that arise during theological discussion within joint theological commissions are not always sufficient grounds for any local Orthodox Church unilaterally to recall its representatives or definitely withdraw from a dialogue. This is what is said in paragraph 10. And according to this document, in paragraph 14, the conclusion of any official theological dialogue occurs with the completion of the work of the relevant Joint Theological Commission. The chairman of the Inter-Orthodox Commission then submits a report to the Ecumenical Patriarch, who, with the consent of the primates of the local Orthodox churches, declares the conclusion of the dialogue. Otherwise, in other words, this document says how the dialogue should be conducted. The international dialogue should be with the participation of all the Orthodox churches, and once the Commission has done its work, then a report is presented to the Ecumenical Patriarch, which is then shared by the Ecumenical Patriarch with all the primates, and then with their consent a decision could be made concerning the conclusion of the dialogue. No dialogue is considered complete before it is proclaimed through such a pan-Orthodox decision. So we see that the bilateral dialogues are really pan-Orthodox dialogues, and these dialogues is a result not only of the decision of the Holy and Great Council, because the work has started before, but is a result of all these preparatory meetings which led to the the meeting of the Holy and Great Council. Of course, among the 6 official bilateral dialogues into which the Orthodox Church has engaged herself on a pan-Orthodox level, the dialogue with the Roman Catholic Church has been the most productive and the most important one. And this is why I want now to say a few words about the meeting in Chieti in September 2016. The meeting of the Joint International Commission for the Theological Dialogue between the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church that was held in Chieti in September 2016 was an extremely significant event. It was the 14th plenary of the Commission, whose work started in 1980, as I said before, and which had produced and published until then 5 documents. The document of Munich in 1982, the document of Bari in 1987, the document of Valamo of 1988, and the documents of Balaman 1993, and the document of Ravenna in 2009. You have these documents in the chart which was given yesterday by Monsignor McPartland, which dealt on sacraments and ecclesiology. Besides its importance for the progress of theological dialogue and for the rapprochement between our 2 churches, one has also to note that this meeting in Chieti was actually the first pan-Orthodox meeting after the Holy and Great Council. You see, let me share for you 2 memories. When I was a member of the delegation for the Synaxis of Primates in 2016 in January, as a delegation we met before the commencement of the Synaxis, and things were not clear at all. We, at the delegation of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, did not know where we were going. We were not sure that the synaxis in January would be successful. In fact, there were many signs that this synaxis might not be successful. And actually, the synaxis, behind all our hopes, was indeed successful, and there was the unanimous decision to convey the council. And then, as you know, and as Metropolitan Charistos has reminded us yesterday in his presentation, then there was a surprise, a bad surprise, on the eve of the council, that 4 churches decided not to come to the council. Then we had, and why? Well, Metropolitan Charistos explained the different reasons in detail, but to a certain extent, I would say that the common denominator of this reluctancy to convey the council was, to a great extent, linked with the theme of ecumenical relations, the theme of the participation of the Orthodox Church in the ecumenical movement, and the participation of the Orthodox Church in the bilateral dialogues. So we had the council. We accepted the document on the relation with the rest of the Christian world, and now we come to the meeting in Chieti. Who will come from the Orthodox side? Will the 4 churches that were not present on Crete, will they come? Well, we had an anxiety. We didn't know what will happen in Chieti. But there was a positive surprise that 3 of the churches that were absent at the Holy and Great Council actually came to the meeting of the Joint International Commission. The Patriarchate of Antioch sent representative, the Church of Russia sent representative, the Church of Georgia sent representatives, and the Church of Bulgaria didn't send representatives. But I have to underline that this was not new. It was not a consequence of the Holy and Great Council, since the Church of Bulgaria seemed not to participate in the various dialogues since she withdrew from the World Council of Churches in 1998. At least, I mean, at the last meetings of the Joint International Commission of Roman Catholic Orthodox Theological Dialogue, they didn't participate. So this was a positive sign. And they participated in the meeting as, I would say, nothing had happened. Chieti is also a very important document because, in a way, it is a continuation and a deepening of the document of Ravenna. As it was already said by my predecessors here, the Ravenna document distinguished 3 levels of primacy and synodality: the local, the regional, and the universal. And the Church of Russia had a reluctance to speak about primacy on the universal level and synodality on the universal level. But despite, and this led, of course, the Church of Russia to reject the document of Ravenna. But here the document of Chieti, which is a continuation and a deepening of the document of Ravenna, was accepted by the delegations of the 13 Orthodox churches present in Chieti. Also, another important thing to underline is that since the document of Ravenna, which was published in 2007, and the document of Chieti of 2016, that is during a period of 9 years, the Joint International Commission was not capable of producing any new document. And the path from Ravenna to Chieti was a very difficult path. I think Monsignor McPartlin has already said, has explained this. So, for this reason, the document of Chieti constitutes, in a way, a step forward for the reception of the document of Ravenna, and is definitely a positive document of what can be said together by Orthodox and Roman Catholics concerning primacy and synodality on the basis of our common heritage of the first millennium, when our churches were in full communion. This is actually the conclusion of the document of Chieti, that the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church, on the basis of this common heritage, must both consider how primacy, synodality, and the interrelatedness between them can be conceived and exercised today and in the future. This is what is said in the conclusive paragraph number 21. The future stages of the work of the Joint International Commission for Dialogue, theological dialogue between the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church, will show how soon could we restore communion between the two churches. Perhaps much more work has to be done, certainly, since the period of the second millennium is filled by points of contention. And perhaps, of course, I cannot tell you anything before the coordinating committee has taken the decisions, but perhaps this is why we are going to move towards the second millennium. But nevertheless, the document on the relations of the Orthodox Church with the rest of the Christian world, which is a conciliar document, which is the first time in history where the Orthodox Church speaks conciliarly, has a conciliar decision about the ecumenical movement and about the bilateral dialogues, and the document of Chieti, of the Joint International Commission, are definitely encouraging basis which places the foundation for the restoration in due time of communion between the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church. Thank you for your attention.